Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I'm so grateful to be moderating this talk, and I'm just gonna introduce myself. My name is Joseph Mays. I'm an ethnobotanist and anthropologist on Trakuna's Ayahuasca Community Committee, and I've been part of Trakuna's Indigenous Reciprocity Initiative of the Americas, which we just launched today, and I encourage everyone to check that out. We have a booth in the conference as well as the page is up on our website. So um, I'm really excited today to be introducing Dr. Andrew Judge. I'm really looking forward to listening to him share his story of awakening and his journey with plant teachers. He's a really inspiring speaker and a teacher himself, and I'm just going to say a little bit about him and then bring him on. So Dr. Andrew Judge is Assistant Professor of Anishinaabe Studies at Algoma University and Shingwauk, Kinoomaage, and has been sessional lecturer at Sir Wilfrid Laurier University, the University of Waterloo, and Coordinator of Indigenous Studies at Conestoga College. He specializes in Anishinaabe cultural knowledge, ethno-medicine, and land-based learning. Dr. Andrew Judge has learned from, worked, and consulted with, and served Indigenous elders and community leaders for over a decade, founded several community-led Indigenous-based knowledge programs, works tirelessly to promote land-based sustainability practices, and he's focused on supporting conscious awakening using plant medicines and Anishinaabe cosmovision to respond to the current state of society. He's been initiated into both Midewiwin and Mayan day-keeping societies and regularly participates in the ancient ceremonial practices of his Anishinaabe ancestors. So I want to thank Andrew for being here, and also to remind everyone that there will be time for questions at the end, about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So please post your questions in the Q&A, and you can vote on the ones that you want to be answered. And with that, I think I'm going to welcome Andrew to the stage, and thank you so much for being here.
Bonjour.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Joseph. Thank you. Bonjour, Nindawe Maganadug. I am related to everything. Mkomose in the go. The spirit, Jamanido, calls me Bear Walker. Deshkanzi being in Dunjaba. I was born and raised along the Horn of the Serpent River, present day London, Ontario. Anishinaabe Ojibige and Indian Dao. I am an Anishinaabe Ojibwe man. Midday and Indian Dao. I'm a Midewiwin man. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you in this moment. I want to give thanks to all of our ancestors who allowed us to share this space and this earth. I want to give thanks to our elders, all of the ones who have taught us. Ani, Suzanne. I want to give thanks to all the elders who have passed down this knowledge through a rigor and through a what recently one of my teachers said to me, which was to master the basics. So that's what I'm trying to do right now through my work and through my actions and through my research. And when I say research, I mean searching again from the places that the ancestors left off. So I did prepare some slides, and I'm not sure how much of the slides I'm going to use, but I'm going to just pull some up here. Maybe Joseph, you can remind me, let me see here, how to do that.
So there should be a little button. It looks like a computer screen with a red slash through it. And if you click that, it'll share, and you can share just the window
Got
or
it.
you can do, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So this is a presentation that I struggled with somewhat in terms of thinking about what I wanted to share, and so I just put down tobacco to ask once again, Jamanado, or that great spirit, that great mystery, that most beautiful being, what I should say and what I should share. And what came to me is that I'm to share this dream that I had last week with you. So this is, I'm going to try and share it somewhat quickly. Anybody who knows me knows that when I share dreams, sometimes they can be, they're very intense. I'm a dreamer. So essentially, the dream starts out and I'm running. And I'm running with about 100 other people. Or sorry, I'm running, and the amount of people I don't know, but I'm near the front of all these people running. And essentially, there's about 100 people across, and I don't know how deep the amount of people goes, but we're in this huge building, and we are running for our lives, sprinting. And I grew up. I don't want to go. I don't want to go off the dream, but essentially, I grew up as an athlete. So you know, I don't know if I'm fast anymore. I retired when I was 25. That was many years ago. About the same time that I shifted my energies towards this work, but I was at the front of this group, and people are screaming. People are running for their lives. I can know that we're being pursued by something that essentially will kill us. And in that, everything that happens next happens just in a brief moment. So we come to this opening, and essentially there's this huge glass area. Think of like a big airport, and the windows are probably 40 feet tall and, you know, at least 100 feet across. So we cover the whole hallway, and we enter this foyer, and there are these escalators that go down, and I can see outside the windows. And outside the windows, there are probably 5 or more huge backhoes, like the kind that move earth, you know, those machines that destroy forests and destroy habitat, essentially our enemy. And they're pushing the earth to make a massive berm about 20 to 25 feet tall. And I immediately realized that not only is whatever this is pursuing us, coming for us, but that in front of us, we are about to exit this building and have to run over this berm, and whatever's on the other side is dangerous. It's gonna kill us. Like this is bad. So in that moment, I look for an exit, and I see to my right down the escalator, the closest one I was to, that there's this other exit. And on the other side of the exit, of course, there are windows there too. There's asphalt all piled up, and there's sort of like it rises up about 40 feet. And that's the only way I can see as a potential for an escape. And so I beeline it towards there, because I do not want to try and climb this berm and find out what's on the other side of, on the other side of the berm. Well, I start running along this asphalt, another berm essentially, and I get to a house eventually. And as soon as I had exited the building, I felt one layer sense of calm, that whoever it was that was attempting to get us had not expected anyone to exit this way. So I get to this house, and I know that I'm not safe yet, and I have to jump off the roof of this house down to a second roof. There's about 4 stories. Only in order to get to that second roof, I have to hang off the edge of the roof and let go. because it was so high, and the edge of the next roof was so narrow that I was like, I just had to time it just right, and I did, and I let go, and I was right on the edge, and oh, so close. And I kept my balance, and I was like, okay, I had another layer of calm, and then I went and I jumped to the next roof down, and then finally to the ground level, but I wasn't out of the water yet, so I kept sprinting, and I'm running, and the setting changes, and suddenly I'm in this lodge. And it's like I was in the lodge and outside of the lodge. And of course, I introduced myself as Anishinaabe. That is my ancestral knowledge. I am also Irish. But we built these things we called Wigwams. And it's taking different types of wood, but sometimes maple, and bending it almost like the womb of a woman, or the pregnant belly of a woman. And when we entered that lodge, our teachings are that we are entering back into the womb of our mother, the earth. And it was like I was inside, but I was outside. And I don't know how well the sound is on here. Maybe Joseph, if it doesn't sound really half decent, then I won't drum, but the drum is playing. And it's really intense, and this song is being sung. And I'm going to sing that song for you, and that's how I'd like to start today. Ajiwani ku and jiwani de, ajiwani ku and jiwani de, ajiwani ku and jiwani de, ajiwani ku and jiwani de. And the song kept being sung, and it was so intense, and I was trying to get the words right. And you see that this song is being sung in my ancestral language, and I don't speak that language fluently. I'm only learning, and I don't even know what these words mean, and I can't get the words just right yet. But I'm trying, and I'm trying to sing with this group of people inside this lodge, and this man, like dressed in white, who is like sort of like a medicine man, I suppose, comes right up to me, right in my face, and he's singing, Ajiwani go and jiwani de, Ajiwani go and jiwani de. And I woke up. And I started to sing that song. And I immediately wrote down the words that I could remember of the dream, and I recorded the song. And so I took that song and I brought it to a couple of my teachers who are fluent in the language. And what I was told, the translation that I was given, was that it means, it's hard to translate Anishinaabe because it is a language of action. And essentially that's my message for you today, is about action. And it's about rising up. Like, it talks about rising up from a certain place out of the earth and transforming from the place of the heart. That is what I've been called to do. That is what the ancestors are calling us all to do. And I realize that whoever's listening to this, you may be Indigenous, you may be studying Indigenous knowledge, you may find yourself in various places around the world. And I just want to say that I honor you, no matter where you're from. That is the way that my ancestors taught us to behave, is to honor all others. no matter where they're from, no matter the language they speak, no matter the ethnobotanical knowledge in which they master. And maybe I could stop there and just say, okay, that's it, leave you with that dream and those images. But if I am to continue, my feeling is that there's so much more. You see, when I grew up, the message about Indigenous people that I was taught, because my family, our inherent right to our knowledge was stolen from us. And this is not just about our inherent right to those ethnobotanical teachings, and in this context, the ones that offer altered states of consciousness, but it's all the medicine of the places where we were, all the teachings of the places in which we evolved. And it wasn't just human evolution. See, I was taught a lot about human evolution, but what I wasn't taught about was the symbiosis of evolution with all the other beings, and how, as humans, being the last to be placed on this earth, I have a responsibility to all those other beings, because it was through a sacred agreement that they made over the course of millions and billions of years that I was able to be, to have a place here, that I was able to be an iteration of the consciousness of the most beautiful being in the whole universe coming to know itself. See, what I was taught about Indigenous people, Native people, Anishinaabe people, I don't even think that word ever came up as a child, was that we were primitive, we were hunter-gatherers, we kind of marauded around in the forest. You have that image of us with a spear in our hands, right? Dressed in some kind of loincloth or diaper kind of thing, and ready to kill the next thing. And I know I can't see any of you, and I don't know exactly who's listening, but I want you to ask yourself, have you seen that image? And do you still hold it in your mind as a truth? Because nothing could be further from the truth. My ancestors practiced diplomacy. We had educators. We had diplomats. We had medicine people. We had artisans. We had traders, people who went on trading missions far and wide to share not only their indigenous knowledge, but to share their cuisine, right? To share their songs, their stories. What I've been taught is that within our communities, we would train children, some children who represented those particular gifts in many languages. And so that when we went on these diplomatic missions or trading missions, when we shared with communities far and wide, we would know their cultural protocol. And so I've been fortunate in my life that some of these teachings I've been able to ground within my heart. And I think I'm going to just switch slides here. This is the place where I have called home for many years. And I don't know if you can see my mouse on the screen, but I live at sort of the crux of Michigan, Lake Superior, and Lake Huron in present-day Sault Ste. Marie or Bawating. But for many years, I lived where you see this word Chinatan. And there are two incredible nations here with like so much knowledge that it would be hard to do justice to even a small portion of it if I had many days with you. And that's only the portion that I have been entrusted to carry with me in my heart, to share with others. And I want to thank the teachers who have taught me, the teachers who have taught me to keep seeds, the teachers who have taught me to sing these songs, the teachers who have taught me to share some of these stories. You know, some of what's being and through the messages of the Indigenous leaders who have taken on the responsibility and the incredible weight of carrying their ancestral knowledge forward to share with the generations into the future. Is that, you know, sometimes they're overlooked. Sometimes they're treated as second to the researchers and the scholars and, you know, the others who often have these places of privilege within these environments. But this is the place where I chose to come as a spirit onto the earth in order to essentially make a difference. Now, what my ancestors have taught me is that there are these 4 layers of consciousness. And it is up to us as the humans, the weakest, the last layer to be placed upon this earth. And you see, in order to sort of get to this place of consciousness, right? I think what essentially, and I'm going to stop saying essentially because I don't know why I keep saying it, but what I feel is that the conference is about. A lot of people are coming together now to well, I hear words like raise their consciousness and expand their consciousness. And often they're turning to the most powerful teachers like marijuana and peyote and ayahuasca and ibogaine and DMT, 5-MeO. I've been around this space for some time, and those queens and kings, if I can use those colonial terms, have called to me. One that has called to me that maybe I can add to this space that others may not be so familiar with is To'e. And I sat with this medicine in southern, oh geez, I can't remember the name of the country. That's so funny. South of Mexico, south of Tulum, west of Guatemala. Maybe somebody can help me out. Belize, sorry. I taught in Belize for about 4 years and throughout the summers. And we would go with the healers to the jungle and they would share some of the medicines with us and the students. And we would talk about the efficacy of traditional medicine, the efficacy of how we view traditional medicine. And what I find is often lost in these spaces is the practice, is the recognition that the sum total of the chemical composition within the medicines that you're studying, if that is your role, and to each their own, is not going to tell you that what that medicine is. It's not going to change your life until you master the basics. And I've been in this space for a long time and have sat with those medicines on various occasions with the peyote in Mexico. And And when I say that, I didn't go there for that reason. I went there for ceremony. First is the offering. First is the giving to the land. And then if the medicine calls, I answer the call. But only when the medicine calls do I answer the call. And so in southern Belize, under the guidance of Dr. Arzu, with this incredible, beautiful toe'e that is only made under the light of the full moon at a certain time when that tura is blooming. I was called to share space, and it's hard to describe the impact of that sharing of space, that and not to my suddenly I'm awakened and now I can be a shaman and now I can control others or change things. No, it was a subtle shift of my own self to recognize who I am and my responsibility. And the responsibility right now is that we have little time left. We have little time left to remember that the animals gave up their lives so that we could be here. We have little time left to recognize that the plants, gitigan, those medicines, mishkiki, they give up their lives still for us so that we can be here. And to me, there is a responsibility that's being overlooked in certain environments, and that is that if we want to get to the most powerful ones, there is a process, an initiation process, and it's slow and it's steady. And before colonization took hold of our current consciousness, there was no other way. There was no other way. And those who are initiated into the societies to be given the responsibility to administer those most sacred beings, there's no shortcut. And that's where my heart is right now, is that I see many people trying to take a shortcut, whether it be for whatever justification that they want to give, whether it be I have to study this thing, or I need to get my PhD, or I need to get better mental health, or I need to get whatever it is. I needed to stop trying to get from the thing in order to realize that those most sacred ones are so much more than the sum of their parts. In our creation story, in the Anishinaabe creation story, which takes many days to tell, and today I've only heard an English version that takes about 2 days to tell. But in that creation story, and I realized that I should probably finish, because there's got to be time for questions. But in that creation story, Anishinaabe, that being, that human being, was lowered down into the earth. And that great spirit, which emerged from nothingness as a sound, shishigwe, sought to come to know itself as the most beautiful being in the whole universe. And it chose this place. It chose this one earth And perhaps there are others, and perhaps there's another parallel universe where this exact conversation is happening in this moment with all the exact same people, and perhaps they say one word different, who knows. But for me, our closest star in our galaxy, Jibai Mikan, the Milky Way, or the pathway of the skeleton, the pathway of the bones, the one that we travel down to come to this place, this son, our grandfather, to be birthed through the flood of the waters of our mothers by choice. Our closest star is 130,000 years away if we travel at the fastest speed that we know right now. So if we left on a rocket ship and started going there, it would take 130,000 years, or maybe a little less, maybe a little more, to get to our closest star. So perhaps we should start taking care of this place better. And perhaps we should need to start taking care of our own hearts a little better. And instead of reaching out for the things that are out there that are going to transform us, if we just have a little bit more, maybe it's time to just stop all that and just look right here and remember that this beating heart, Ode, 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 in my language, is that first sound, is that connection to the consciousness of the being that emerged from nothing, that came to know itself, that's trying to come to know itself as the most beautiful being in the whole universe. And it takes a long time for the humans to be lowered, because we have to go through those layers of consciousness. We have to go through those iterations of that being coming to know itself, just like it takes time for us to come to know ourselves, because we're humans, we're the weakest ones. It's the hardest for us. And sure, those medicines can come and they can help us. But what are we doing to help them first? This is the reason why I restore the earth, why I spend some of my free time. Free time, it's a funny word in this when you're an academic and you have a mission, as those who do know. But this is why I restore the earth, because we as humans have the capacity to design the earth in a way in which all of our relatives thrive. And as humans, we were not lowered into some random place on the earth. We were lowered into a tobacco field. And this is why I went out and put tobacco down just now, because the sacredness of that being. And yes, as those who have worked with tobacco, it's another of the most powerful beings, especially those who have worked with the varieties that have the higher nicotine content, as I have. We were lowered into a tobacco field for a reason, right? To remember that that's the place that cushioned our fall, right? That as we left the spirit world to become humans, that tobacco embraced us and said, "Welcome, my child. Welcome to the most beautiful place in the whole universe. You have a responsibility now." And there are some who still remember what that responsibility is. But there are many who forget, who are forgotten. And I tried the other route, it's like a rock in a hard place. But I find that now the route is just through gratitude, through kindness, through love, mostly gratitude. And that's why I went out to give thanks and say, you know, I rarely ask for anything, but is there something that you want me to share? And these are the words that have come from that medicine. Now there's so much more. There's so much more to master the basics. To honor the solstices and the equinoxes, to sit with the moon cycles when our grandmother shows her full face, to start here and then to resonate to our family, our community, our environment, our solar system, our galaxy, and our universe, so that we can be part of the consciousness, so that we can help or be a manifestation of the Great Spirit coming to know itself. Because there's a new consciousness emerging. And that consciousness requires us to forget everything we think we know about the world as humans. There's so much more, but what I want to leave you with was there's a moment in that creation story when Anishinaabe is finally lowered down to the earth, when he finally takes his first steps. And he's leaving his moccasin trail. And I say this to you, what is the trail that you are leaving on this earth? And he has to go and he has to name all the beings, right? So that he can know them. And that's a whole other thing in itself. But essentially he comes across this little tiny red thing in the earth amongst the green. And he looks down, and if I had more time, I talk about the color of red and how significant it is, and I talk about you know, the perception that we have, and how all of everything that happens is all sacred all the time. But he sees this thing, and he brings this, he picks it, right? Likely not first without making an offering. And he takes that little red bean and he brings it up to his lips. And see, when you're working with medicines, you have to be careful, but I don't like the fear-based working with medicines. I just mean, like, our bodies can have reactions. Not all of us are going to react to this medicines in the same way, like ayahuasca. Like when I sat with ayahuasca, like I was just like on fire. And maybe other people have had this experience for about the first hour. Like I was just moving around. I wanted to run. I wanted to move. I wanted to put wood on the fire. Meanwhile, some people around me were just like, you know, in complete and utter devastation. I didn't understand, you know, until it started to enter fully into my bloodstream. And then every ripple of movement of my body sent memory all the way up through my heart and through my consciousness. And I got to see exactly who I am. And I asked her, am I a good person? And she said yes. And that was enough for me to continue. And when we test these medicines, we usually put on our wrist, has like some really sensitive skin right here. And so we'll test the medicines when we're working with them, if we don't know them yet and haven't worked with them, on our wrist, and if that's safe, we don't have a reaction, we'll test a little on our lip. And so Anishinaabe pulls that little red being and he puts the little on his lip. And for the first time, this is the first time of the human experiencing this, he tastes the sweet juice of the strawberry. And when I heard that story, I thought about that moment for so long. Like I was just like, every time I walked and I was thinking about, wow, what a moment, you know. And that before we started to alter the diet of the entire earth, right? Before we started to take things and move them and use them in ways that they were never intended to be used. We only had a small window to taste the sweet juice of the strawberry. You know, and after 20 years or 30 years, you only had 2 week windows in all those 30 years to find that place, to return to the ancestral sacred place that your family had taken and evolved with over generation upon generation, to pull that strawberry to your lip and taste its sweet juice. And so I'm going to leave you with this song that came from that teaching. And I just want to say that thank you for your time. I stressed out over this presentation because I guess those plants, they're calling out to us now to restore the earth. Oh, David, Manado. Oh, David, Manado. Oh, David, Manado. Oh, David, Manado. We sinin, 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 oh, David, Manado. Ninduwe Magana Dog, I am related to everything. Ode Min Manado. To the spirit of the strawberry. Ode Min, the sustainer of life. Ode Min Manido, to the spirit of that strawberry, to the spirit of that sustainer of life, to the spirit of that sweet juice. Wisinen, I'm going to eat you. And it's so simple. Miigwech, thank you for your time.
Wow, thank you so much, Andrew. That was so powerful, and I just really appreciate the humility and the authority that you seem to be able to combine and exude, and that heart-centered approach is so palpable when you speak, and there's such a richness to your words. So thank you so much for sharing. And I'm just gonna, I know we don't have as much time. Yeah, and I really, really appreciate the song as well. Try to get through as many questions as possible, but we might not be able to get to all of them. One question that I want to ask you is about shortcuts. So I know you said that you were in your mid-20s when you started to sort of move in this direction in your life, and I think for those of us who have similar experience, it seems even more tempting to take shortcuts, especially when you feel like everything is urgent and you're in a hurry almost to catch up or get somewhere. And so Mercedes asks if you can elaborate more about why taking a shortcut can hurt us on a spiritual path, or how to avoid doing so.
That's a really intense question and a great question, and one that in the early part of my journey, this is what I did. I started out, I found my path, I found Anishinaabe teachings, and I found our way. So our way of life is Midewiwin. And if you want to talk about altered states, go into one of our ceremonies when you have, hundreds of people singing the songs and, performing the ceremony in just such a way as it has been done for generation upon generation. And I was like naively, and I still am naive, and I think that's a gift as well, but I naively said, I want to know everything. And suddenly the Spirit started to pour this knowledge over me. Like, it's hard to describe, but it's just like things that I could have never imagined were true or even possible started to be shown to me. Then the dreams began, and then the experiences with the Spirit, standing on top of Tikal and the rainbow appears, and standing in Shunantunich and stepping onto the ground and the howler monkey, and singing with me as I sang, and like it's just incredible. And so I wanted because I thought that's what it was the way, right? And when that was poured on me, I collapsed. The weight of it, and I don't mean physically, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, was way too much. People entering this space, even for the first year, 2 years, and they start, for example, drinking ayahuasca or being influenced by these medicines. If there is no foundation to the knowledge that they carry, those medicines taught us how to be in this world. All of us. We evolved with them. We didn't just find them in the bush one day. We evolved with them as they evolved with us. And so, are you a part of that continued evolution, or are you separate from it, outside of it, looking at it as if it owes you? Right? It doesn't owe us anything. We owe it everything. And so when we say we're in a rush, we're not in a rush. That's the colonial influencing you, saying it's time to go. When I say we have little time left, I mean we have little time left to literally transform the land. Because of global warming, because we've altered the entire surface of our planet. And so in order to restore it, it takes time, little by little. And I wish I could show you more of the work that I'm doing, but it's little by little. What is it? Paso y paso, like step by step. And that is when I was in Guatemala for the first time at Cafe Red, encountering some brilliant people. And one was a militant, and he said, Andrew, every day I used to get up and I put my life on the line. And he fought when the military came in and started killing, the 100, 200,000 Mayans that they did. And he said, now, and that's the spiral, he said, we go slow. Little by little, our way is a spiral way. And he goes, now I want nothing more to live as long as I can to live that way. And so when I say no shortcuts, it's ayahuasca is not going to make you something that you weren't before. And if you go to it for that, then you're asking for something rather than giving and saying, how do I give over my life to you, ayahuasca, one of the most powerful beings, or datura, or toe, or ibogaine, or all these other ones that we evolved with because they allowed us to, not the other way around.
Yeah, that's such a powerful lesson. I think if you approach medicines like that with that sort of attitude, then they will sometimes have a strong teaching for you. At least that's been my experience. But along that line, Leonardo asks what your advice is for people who want to make responsible use of plants but do not have access to those plant teachers, maybe because of where they are or their situation?
My initial reaction, thank you for the question. And I get really intense about these things. So sorry if I'm like, if it seems like I'm like against anybody. I'm not against anybody here. I'm just passionate about this space. But, you know, this is a really important question. And what I would say is, if you ate today, you have access to the plants, you know, and this is what I mean about looking over there for what the thing is. Every single person who's in this space right now or who listens to this, you are an Indigenous person. You have a homeland. You have a bloodline to a language and to an honoring of various plants and medicines. And if you forget that, that's okay. But there are some who still remember their own, who uphold their own and maintain their own and practice their own. What are you coming with to trade? And if you can't know that right now, that question, the answer to it, then that's the work that you start with. Forget about going and trying to get ayahuasca or what's the one in the desert? Peyote.
Yeah.
So as the stories that have been shared with me through those medicines are like so intense, but I know that those aren't mine, right? Like that if I ask for them for whatever I'm asking for, that I better be ready to hand over my life, because that's what they're doing. They're handing over their life so that we can have an experience. But those are just the most powerful ones. Everywhere we are, go outside and look, and if you see a tree, there's your teacher. Start there. And if once you honor those ones, the other ones will find you if they are meant to. But even just doing that, there will be ones that find you that you don't expect, because now that you recognize them and you know their name, they recognize you. And they'll start to speak to you. And you have to be open to listen. And this is what I'm saying about the mastering the basics, is that opening to listening, it's not going to come. A voice isn't going to come out of a tree, although it has for me a few times, but like I say, my child, this is what you must do. You know, that happens. That has happened to me. But but like most times it's so subtle. It might just be a rustling of the leaves in the wind. And that is the message for you that day. And if you can give thanks for that, as much as you can give thanks for, you know, spending $500 in an experience in Peru, then that's when you start to master the basics and recognize that it's all around us all the time.
Yeah. I think it's part of, like you were saying, the colonial mindset to feel like you need that a direct connection, and it's faster using those powerful medicines, but it's maybe better to first start with the slow awareness of what's around you and connecting with those teachers that are there just right in front of you. But I
Yeah,
think
because some people go out and they do that a few times, and then all of a sudden they're the new shaman. They have a $500 experience, and you know, and they justify it and they say, "Oh, it's because I was chosen or selected," and it's like, okay, okay.
well, everybody has their own journey, but yeah, I think I'm always coming back to that daily practice and that like attitude of, like you were saying, that we owe the plants everything, and so cultivating that gratitude and mastering the basics, as you said. I think we only have time for maybe one more question, and I also want to be sure that you get a chance to say how people can connect with you and stay up to date with your work. So after this brief answer, maybe you can go ahead and plug that as well. But just this one might be a little bit difficult to fit in a few minutes, but we have a question from Kristen asking if you have any gentle guidance for those trying to salvage and call back that which was taken from them.
Yes. Thank you for the question, Kristen. And again, I'm really intense about this, and this is my life. You know, this is literally the conversations that I have, the energy I spent, and I'm human too, right? And everybody has a song. You have a song, and you may not know it right now, but it's there in you. You know, there's that song is in you. Everybody has a reason for choosing this time to come to this place. And what my teacher says is we all chose to come here at this time because we are facing a time like no other in the history of humanity. And there are people on both sides. There are the ones who want to go forward, and then there are enemies. And sometimes, like in the yin yang, some are positioned within both spaces, and sometimes some will seem just like they're doing the right, but they're actually not. You know, all those things like breathe and sit with yourself and sit on the earth and put your hands on the earth, like kind of seem a little like it's almost like they're getting old. Like everybody says them now, like breathe, but they're so important. And of course I breathe every day. But I just, you know, you try to find your song, listen to the messages of your dreams. Like listen, hear first. Before you search for something that's going to change you, all the secrets of the whole universe are already inside of you. They're already there because you are a reflection of the consciousness of the most beautiful being coming to know itself. Yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy. This path is not easy. It's a struggle, like a day in day out. And if you're not up for that struggle, then go back to the Kool-Aid, like because it's okay. Like some people won't ever even have a conversation like this their whole lives, and we have to recognize that it took us hundreds of years to get into the mess we've made. It's going to take us hundreds of years to get out of it. And so we're just doing a small part each time, a small part. And I guess I'll lastly, like, be kind to yourself, love yourself first. And you deserve that love, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's some of the best that I've ever heard that kind of question answered. So really appreciate your wisdom and just your heart. That's what's resonated with me the most, because I think we all live or many of us live in this society that's severed that connection. And so it's just a process of trying to heal that. And I'm always trying to live more from my heart every moment. So I see that in you, and it's very inspiring to me. So thank you again, Andrew, and please let everyone know how they can stay connected with you.
So I don't have any social media by choice, but I am doing a lot of work right now. Some of it can be found on my website. I don't always update it. Sorry about that. I will share this. There's an Eventbrite tomorrow, an event, Star Teachings from our people, Anishinaabe people. I do realize that this conflicts with the conference, and so I mean the conference comes first. This is the space you chose to be, but if you do have time, drop in. There's that, and I just say that I'll add one more link here.
And people, there's a little, icon in the top right where you can direct message Andrew if you have more questions. If you're able to be on the platform at all this weekend, you can respond to some other questions as well.
Here, copy link. Okay, I'm gonna add another link here. This is that's cool. I'm trying to keep up with the little messages. Thank you everybody who's been sharing these messages. I really appreciate it. I do wish I had more time, to really nurture the spirit of each one of you. These environments don't often allow that, and that's why sometimes I'm opposed to them. But I know that it's so important to share these messages, and that any space in which we can do that, to a certain extent, is a good space. But if you click on that link, you can sign up and register for our email list. And we do regular events with speakers, mostly during the moon cycles. We celebrate solstices and equinoxes. This is essentially my research at where I work at Algoma University. Yeah, guys, thank you so much. The stress is gone. Now I can get to all those other things that I have to do. And somebody dropped off a dog to my house on Thursday, and now it's my dog. So I have to take him out. His name's Aji Kanan, which means socks. And he's listening over there and wondering when the heck I'm going to take him out. But life is, just so remarkable. And each one of you are a gift to this earth. I speak directly to each one of you. You are the most beautiful being in the whole universe, and thank you for existing.
Thank you so much, Andrew, and take care, and hopefully everyone's able to stay in touch.
Okay.
Thank you.
And to the people who I knew in the chat, thank you, Suzanne. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate all the kind words from everyone. Bamapi Gigawavmin, we'll see you again in this life or the next.
Bye, everyone. Thank you, Andrew.